We all need laughs, as many as we can get. So right now, it's a good thing George Lopez provides a lot of them. He is one of the funniest men on the planet. He's got a Netflix special called We'll Do It for Half. Please welcome George Lopez. Hey. We'll do it.
Good morning, everybody.
This is fabulous. Good morning. It's your first Netflix special, and you said preparing it was like training for a boxing match. Explain to people what you mean.
Well, Whoop, you're going to have to throw some blows. You're going to have to not pussyfoot, as my uncle would say, to deliver some news that maybe people don't want to hear. Even the title itself, We'll Do It for Half, in these sensitive, turbulent times. As a comedian, We'll Do It for Half was my response to an alleged threat against our leader. And it earned me a visit from the United States Secret Service, which took it as a threat. I explained to them that I considered it an estimate and not a personal threat. You find somebody to do it cheaper, be my guest.
Megan?
Well, Mr. Lopez, on a strange note, former Van Halen frontman Sammy Hagar recently said that he would feel comfortable risking his health to perform for crowds again before we have a vaccine if COVID numbers were on the decline in order to help save the economy. I think he's also doing a festival in Wisconsin where he's going to have people come together even though COVID's still at the rise. Your good friend D.L. Hughley collapsed last week on stage and found out that he had coronavirus. How do you feel about doing stand-up for crowds right now?
Well, I know Sammy Hagar. I think he's a fantastic musician. He's also the guy who can't drive 55. But when we start listening to elderly rockers as intellectual speakers, I think maybe we're in worse condition than we think we are. D.L. Hughley has, coronavirus can be affected by a pre-existing condition, which with D.L.'s case is trying to fit size 8 feet into size 7 shoes. So his clothes are too tight. He's got some hardening in the arteries, but to rush back to work, it's also almost like hearing that one of your co-workers has contracted the coronavirus, and I will not be rushing out to perform in front of anyone at any particular time. Being Latino, seeing UFOs, everybody's thinking that wall just got higher. I don't need to be out there with a kidney that's not mine and a compromised immune system, which used to be great at parties to talk about.
Well, George, you're used to working a lot, but quarantine has forced us all to slow down. And you said that this time at home has given you a clearer chance to see life a little clearer. So what did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, as a country, you look at having to work so hard to not have any disposable income. I think a lot of families have been impacted by the financial crisis of not being able to go to work. But for me, I've been working pretty hard since I was 14. I've been doing stand-up 41 years. I'm divorced. I have a compromised immune system. My kidney belongs to my ex-wife. So when the dust settles, I'm thinking, I may keep my elderly, half-fat ass at home and not risk being involved in a pandemic or any sexual activity that is not responsible.
I understand that.
Now, George, you're a huge sports fan, and we had NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace on the show this week to talk about his experience being the only black driver and his call to remove the Confederate flag from the races. And it was really great to see how Bubba's NASCAR family rallied so quickly around him. What did you think when you saw the support that he received at his race on Monday?
NASCAR is a great sport. I mean, I'm not judging the intellectualness of making 4 left turns into a circle 500 times. That's for them to decide. But for NASCAR to have things that remotely look like nooses and have their answer be like, oh, that old thing has been there for years. I just think anything anybody can do to make something just a little more embraceable to all fans of NASCAR. I'm a Leonard Skinner fan, but now I see the Confederate flag differently. And Sweet Home Alabama, But I think in times like this, we just need a little bit of understanding. Maybe monuments that are more like lipstick tubes, where you turn it and Andrew Jackson comes out, and if you don't want to see it, you turn it and Andrew Jackson goes away.
Okay. Now, you know, you and I were both in LA in the Rodney King riots. You know, and I look at what's happening now, and I look at what happened then, and I see like this is the outcome of this is going to be a bit different. I wonder if you see the same thing.
Well, you know, civil unrest, but, you know, when people feel unheard and when they feel like they're not safe, they gather to display their opinions. You know, I lost a friend of mine to police violence when I was 19, a guy I grew up with, went to school. Every day of my school was with him, and I thought we'd grow old and be together, and he's the only one missing of all the guys we grew up with. So, you know, it's not fun to see your city burn down, but the neighborhood did get better, and they went from nighttime to daytime. So I would say that, you know, I'm not a fan of looting and of rioting, but I am a fan of being able to get together and to demonstrate and protest things that you don't think are fair.
Well, Mr. Lopez, you've been a critic of Trump since he was elected, but you spent a day golfing with him in 2007. What was that like?
Well, you know, he arrived in a helicopter and he was wearing clothes and his pants went to the middle of his chest. It was in Bedminster. It was a humid day. You know, he sweat in places people don't usually sweat from, Megan. You know, the tips of his shoulders, the back of his calves. And you know, I'm calling in question his honesty on the course, but also afterwards we went to go have lunch and he ordered a bratwurst with no bun on a fork with about 1.5 pounds of mustard. And then through the kitchen, these guys come out, Latino guys with what looked like a surfboard of fajitas and chiles and tortillas of both kind. And Donald Trump said, wait a minute, what's this? I got a bratwurst and George Lopez is here and he got all of this stuff. That's not on the menu. And the guys were like, you know, Senor Trump is George Lopez, but it's not on the menu. Senor Trump, George Lopez. So you can order off the menu at Trump courses.
Well, you know what? It is always such a pleasure to see you. You know, to me, you are the funniest man on the planet. And this new special, We'll Do It for Half, is out on Netflix on June 30th. So, folks, you got to watch it. It's good to see you, George. Come back and see us again.
Bye,
soon,
George.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, ladies.